What's going on, guys? So today I have a special video for you guys. I'm actually going to be talking about my Charizard collection. Yes, I know Charizard, he's overplayed at this point and he's maybe even a little bit overrated. But I still have a place in my heart special for Charizard. Or my heart would be over here. Charizard's what set doesn't have a Charizard, right? What set does not have a Charizard? It seems like every couple sets we get a Charizard, especially nowadays, more recently. But let's go ahead and get into it. I'm going to show you guys all of my Charizards, all the way up to my most recent purchase, which was a set of 2 Charizard first editions, thick and thin stamps. So let's go ahead and let's get to it. I'm going to start with the most modern Charizard that we have. So starting off, we've got the Brilliant Stars Charizard. This is really a fantastic artwork. I absolutely love looking at this card. It's really beautiful. And in the right lighting, it just pops off really nicely. The battle scene with Venusaur and, his tail down here and the vines up here. It's pretty cool. It's really a great artwork. And it's definitely different. Up next, what's the next modern thing I can think about? So, I would say it's the Radiant Charizards. Oh, you know what? We got the Radiant Charizard from Crown Zenith. I totally forgot about these. So, I was actually talking about Pokemon Go. So, we've got the Radiant Charizards. Let's go ahead and zoom in on that. We've got the Radiant Charizards. Look at these guys, absolutely beautiful. Love that radiant hollow pattern. These guys kind of are a black, but they shine like a dark gray once you get the light on there right. Really a beautiful card. So I pulled these from Crown Zenith, so I've got 2 of these guys. But really, the ones I was going to bring up was actually the Pokemon Go Radiant Charizards. I bought 2 of these relatively cheap. The centering isn't that great. But they're still pretty great overall. Very similar to that other Radiant Charizard with the kind of black but the nice gray shimmer, silver shimmer when the light is on it properly. I'm going to get that up close one more time so you guys can see it a little bit better. Really beautiful. Right when you get the light perfectly on his eye goes red. Really, really beautiful. I think this is a super underrated card. I really, really like this card. Just looking at it now, I really, really like this card. It's really a beautiful one. Okay, moving forward, the next recent set I can think of that I did pull something out of. I actually, in one of my first pulls, oh, I forgot I even had this one. Well, I'll talk about this other Brilliant Stars Charizard, the Rainbow V-Star. When this card came out, well, when the set dropped, this card was a $350 card. I remember this was the card you wanted. Everyone was crazy about it. And now the hype has died down, and you can get one of these bad boys for maybe 140, 130. I think I paid maybe 160, possibly, I think. It's really a nice card. It's really well centered too. As you can see, the centering is really good on this thing. And it really depends what you like. Some people aren't really big fans of the rainbow art, but I honestly think it's fire. I think it's really cool. And the centering is really good on this card. I actually think this card could score a 10. Hold on. I actually think, yeah, this card could definitely score a 10. So, check out the back. I didn't even think about that with this card. This would be a really good card to grade. It's very well centered, both on front and back. It's just beautiful. It really is a beautiful card. It's kind of weird. The rainbow... It's kind of weird. It's definitely growing on me. But I actually think that this Darkness Ablaze Charizard is really epic. I know he's not worth much, but that doesn't change the fact that I absolutely think this card is sick. And, you know, I'm not the hugest fan of the CGI, but the way it lights up, the way the holo lights up, and the right lighting, it really looks good. And this card is also really well centered. As you can see, pulled it right out of a pack myself, so this would be really fun to grade and see if we could get a 10. And I wonder what a 10 even is on a Darkness Ablaze Charizard. Okay, then moving forward, the next most modern card we have would be Celebrations. So we've got these Celebrations Charizard. See if I can get the holo to shine up from back here. Let's put that up here. Really, this is an underrated Charizard card. You can find these mint for 60 bucks, 50 bucks probably, maybe even 40 bucks. This is a beautiful card that I think is going to age really, really well. I pulled this one myself in my first ETB opening of Celebrations. I opened that actually with my wife, Diana, and we actually, well, technically Diana pulled this card. I did not pull this card. Diana pulled this card technically. But I'm trying to get it close up so you guys can really see that holo sheen. It's really a great holo pattern. It's really a spectacular card. I'm sure some of you watching this may even be asking yourselves, do I need this card? Is this a card that I need? Now, Charizards that I really want, I want a, why won't that focus back? Charizards that I really want, I want a Crystal Guardians Charizard. Those things are really hard to catch in auctions. They always go overpriced. The price keeps going up. It's ridiculous. And I'm not talking about the Skyridge Crystal Charizard. Now that is a goal for sure. And then the Shining Charizard from Neo Destiny. These auctions keep slipping. But in general, I shouldn't be looking at cards that expensive anymore. I already got my Grails, which were the first edition Charizards. But I just am a completionist. And if you're like me, you have to have those other variants of Charizard from the other sets. So that was our Celebrations. And we're going to look at the centering. The centering on this card, in my opinion, is 10. Centering on this card is an easy 10, in my opinion. Now, maybe there's some quality control issue or something that I'm not seeing. But as far as I'm concerned, I always knew this card was practically a 10. But I just didn't put much thought into actually getting it graded. I'm just happy to have the card. Having the physical card, there's something about that that's really special. But there's the front, very well centered. Let's look at the back here. Very well centered in the back. Don't mind my fingers. I've been under the hood of my car, so they're all nasty. Oh well. Okay. Next up, okay, now we've got our traditional Charizards. So, we've got this base set Charizard right here. It's in really, really good condition. Trying to get that holo to shimmer and shine. But here she is. Very well centered. I think I got this card for around 100 bucks. All my Charizards are pretty much from like a year ago, so I got a lot of these for like 100 bucks. Really good value on these. Here's the back. I'm going to focus that in. Very well centered. This one has a slight chip up top here, but that's it. It's the only issue with this card. Has some whitening down here, a little white spot right there. This corner is not bad, and then this corner right here just has a little chip on it. Actually, this card I know for a fact that I paid $150 for, which in today's standards actually could be a really good deal with the way prices. I think this card would probably be a 5 or maybe a 6, maybe a 5 because of the chip off the corner. But all right, let's see. And we've got another Charizard. Centering is really good on this card. Again, some whitening in this middle part. This one's definitely in better shape overall. And the centering is really good on this card. The centering up front is also phenomenal on this card. Yeah, now this one might be the one that I picked up for 120. So I've got two. I honestly don't know how many base set unlimited Charizards I have. But you can never have enough base set unlimited Charizard. And we've got another one here, and this one could have been better. This one definitely could have been better. So I got a deal for a couple Charizards one time. I think this was a part of it. It's got a bad corner. This corner is not great, but it is what it is. Cards like this, I think I paid maybe 100, maybe 112 for this card. The centering is really good. Centering is solid. And then the back is super played. So just to give you guys an idea, I'm definitely not like a stickler on condition. Lately I've gotten more in tune with like checking the conditions of cards, but I'm not a huge stickler for it. I don't know why I bought this card in an 8. I didn't know the knowledge that I know now about pricing. Honestly, I could have just I think I paid $80 for this card. For $80, I probably could have gotten a 9 at this point. I could have bought one raw and got it graded and gotten a better grade. But here's my XY Evolutions Charizard. This is a really fantastic card. If you want a Charizard and you want a really, really nice condition Charizard without forking up a bunch of money, honestly, these things are fire. All puns intended. These things are complete fire. Honestly, I haven't looked in this one in a minute. The holo pattern is extremely busy, and I actually really, really like that about this card. I like that the holo pattern pops off and goes way harder than the previous, this is the base set design, but it goes way harder than the base set holo. And it definitely looks, you definitely can appreciate the vintage old style when you're looking at it in person. But man, on the camera, this thing definitely looks like a good investment. It looks like a card that people should be looking for. This one in particular, you guys probably, I don't even really need to zoom this in, but as you can see, the centering is not great on this card. It's not good centering. Might have been the reason why it got an 8, because the back looks really good. Next up, we've got two dark Charizards. I don't know why I bought 2. I don't know why I bought unlimited 5s. It's kind of an odd thing to get, but again, I got a lot of my Charizards a year or 2 ago. So the prices are different than what they are now. I imagine these have gone up a little bit. I really think this is a fantastic card. Wow, that holo is in great condition. I think this is a fantastic card, and I think sometimes when you find cards like the Team Rocket Charizard, the Dark Charizard, or a Blaine's Charizard, I think those might get passed up on a little bit more than the base set Charizard, and I think there's really good value with how old these cards are. I do not have any first editions other than my base set first editions. I don't have any first edition variants of any of these cards. I wish I did. The centering on this one was pretty good. As you guys can see, the centering on this guy is pretty good. There's not a lot of holo pattern popping off on this one. I will say it's very, very subtle. Trying to get that to pop off, but it's tough. It's very subtle, but I'm not even sure why this one got a 5. Look at the back. Like, grading is so subjective. Like I don't know, but. And then I have another one here, which is a 5 that is better centered, but still bottom heavy. It's got a thick bottom there. That's funny, thick bottom. It's got a thick bottom. Charizard's got a thick booty. And you can see the holo pattern popping off a little bit right there. Again, it's harder to see that holo pattern on here. It's much easier in person. But overall, clean condition card. For being a 5, I'm pretty sure I spent like $80 or maybe even $70. I don't know. I remember thinking like I was really happy with the price I paid. Just because of the caliber of card it is. It's still a Charizard, and it's still from the year 2000. It's still 23 years old. I mean, it's crazy looking at this card, even in a 5, and thinking like, oh wow, I paid less than $100 for this card. Like, It's sick. Okay, we've got another. So I have my Charizards in tiers of condition. So here's a base set Charizard that's in better condition than those other ones. This one's centered really well. The holo is really, really nice on this one. You can just right off the bat tell there's a nicer card, but only caveat with this card is that it has, where that wing is, it has a scratch through the wing. It has a scratch through the wing. It was kind of a weird card. I paid about 110 bucks for this card, so it's actually a steal, honestly, but it's got a cut through the wing. I don't know how much that would affect grading, but other than that, this is probably the nicest Charizard that I have, but since it has that cut through the wing, I pretty much knocked it down from another one that I picked up. The centering is really good on the back here. And I'm definitely a sucker for base set Charizards. There was a point where I thought I was going to just fill a briefcase with base set unlimited Charizards because the Shadowless Charizards are a little too expensive, and then first editions are pretty much unattainable. I am still paying off these first edition Charizards. This is the only reason I have any credit card debt whatsoever is because of these Charizard first editions. So believe me, it's an arm and a leg. It's a lot to chew off. If the price goes down, I will probably try and get another. I absolutely love these cards. They look phenomenal. It's really hard to tell between the fakes these days. So I'm happy to have two legitimate, authentic ones and graded by PSA because I really like the PSA slabs. I like the Beckett slabs more, but okay, getting off topic, moving on. So I bought a collection for $270. It had a ton of Diamond and Pearl bulk. It had a ton of these EX series bulk. It had lots of holos. It had Pop series holos. It had base holos. It had all kinds of stuff. At the end of the day, I think I should have been able to pay $200 for it. But one of the cards, the reason why I was paying that $270 was I was essentially paying $70 for this card and $200 for everything else. And I show that video. Way back, I'll show a video showing everything I got in that haul. It's not a recent video, but yeah, this guy is absolutely beautiful. Centering is great on him. It might be a little bottom heavy, but overall, here we have a really, really nice card. Let's zoom that in back on it one more time. As you can see, it's got a partial swirl in here. It's got a really, really nice holo going around the fire area. This is really a beautiful card, and it's crazy to think that you can still pick this stuff up locally. I walked into a Second and Charles bookstore, and they also buy Pokemon cards, and someone walked in with their collection. It was literally the universe. The universe was pulling me closer to buying Pokemon, I swear to God. Swear to God. So, and today we might check out a local hobby shop, so I might do a video on that if we go check them out. But this is absolutely stunning. God, this card's holo looks great, and well-centered too. I'm really happy I picked this card up now. The more I look at it, it was really a steal. Just has one little tiny nick at the top here. Y'all probably can't even catch it on camera, but there it is, where you can see a little bit of shine in the middle of the card. It's the tiniest, minute little nick, but I think that would take this card from being a 7 or 8 to potentially like a 6. So that would be a bummer, but it'd be a really beautiful 6. And honestly, it could be a 5 too. But even a Blaine's Charizard in a 5, I think is worth $100. So, which is crazy. I think this card should be more valuable than 100. Maybe, tell me what you guys think. You guys think this Blaine's Charizard could do better than a PSA 5? I don't know. Let's show the back here. Back's pretty good. Edge wear. I don't know. PSA is pretty strict these days. So, I don't know. Next up, a Dark Charizard that I bought is a raw card, but it's in better condition than my 5s. Really, really beautiful holo on there. Really a nice card. Great centering, little bottom heavy. Yeah, a little bottom heavy. Good centering on the back. Next up, we have more base set Charizards, but these I consider still nicer than the other ones, but they're 5s. I bought these in a bundle deal. I got a 4 and 2 5s for about 300 bucks. So it was basically $100 a pop. And then I sold the 4 for about 150. So sold the 4 for about 150. So I'm in it like 150 on each PSA 5 base set Charizard, which nets me about $75 a card. This one's pretty well centered. Definitely a nice card. Get the holo to pop off a little bit there. Hopefully this brings some nostalgia to everybody coming back to the hobby and in it currently. Beautiful. Beautiful. Great centering. That's what I'm saying. It's pretty strict. They're pretty strict. Like how these got 5s, I don't know. Oh, this one has some back edge wear. Beautiful. Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. I'm sorry, but I am a sucker for Charizards. Let's look at the back of this guy. Not a lot of wear on this card. PSA is getting really strict in my opinion. And that's the thing. 5s, I feel like 5s always have potential to be 6s or 7s. So I feel like 5s are a pretty safe bet. But at the same time, I feel like I've gotten a 5 in something before and just been like, this card looks atrocious. So I think a lot of people get scarred from past experiences. And then they're like, I'm not messing with any low grades. I've seen 7s that have damage. Like, I'm serious. I've seen it all. I'm sure everybody who's been in the hobby long enough has seen it all. We've seen cards that were like, why is that card graded so low? Why is this card graded so high? So very objective. Okay. Next up, this was the most expensive base set Charizard I ever bought to date. I spent $240 on this raw card, which was really a gamble. But honestly, it looks pretty good. But at the same time, even though the front is phenomenal, it's still, I still get the vibe that this card would not do better than a 6 or a 7, which sucks, but I just feel like they're super strict. All right, sorry I'm taking too long. Here it is. As you can see, if we look really closely, the holo is mint. The holo is mint on this base set Charizard. Looks really good. The centering is very important when you're spending over $200 on a Charizard. Centering was very good. Now, that's changed now. Now, PSA 5s are going for 200 bucks. PSA 5s were going for 100 bucks like a year or two ago. Swear. It's crazy. Or maybe I'm just catching deals. I don't know. Here's another one. Well, not a base set Charizard. This is a Power Keepers Charizard. This is the same artwork that's on the Charizard UPC. If you look behind me, their head is placed in the same position. That is this Charizard. That artwork is based off of this Charizard. Picked this guy up for about 50 bucks, 60 bucks. Really a beautiful looking card. Has the moon in the background. Holo looks like it's in great shape. It's a pretty busy Cosmos pattern, and there's an orb right next to the moon, which is pretty cool. I noticed little details like that, and I think it's pretty cool. But yeah, this is a really great artwork. One of my favorite artworks. Honestly, Charizard looks great in this pose. But let's check the centering if I wanted to get it graded. Centering looks like it's a little bit thin on this side. So not the perfect centering. Back looks really good. Back looks clean. Moving on. This card I feel like is not a talked about card, but it's still one of my personal favorites. I really like these last 3 sets right here, Expedition, Aquapolis, and Skyridge. Skyridge Crystal Charizard is legendary. Also, the Legendary Collection Reverse Charizard. Very important to try and get those if you're really going to go after collecting Charizards. Gotta catch them all. But this one is from Expedition. And honestly, it's not the one that you're going to think. It is not the CGI Expedition Charizard Holo. And it's not that reverse holo. This is actually the hand-drawn non-holo and reverse holo. And in my opinion, this reverse is more... I think there's more to it, and I think there's more value to it than the actual original holo Charizard from Expedition. It's kind of a CGI animated version. I'm really not a fan of it. I know people in here might have it. It's not a knock on you. I will probably buy one at some point. It's just, that's like one of the Charizards that I'm least worried about, because I just don't appreciate cards as much that aren't hand drawn. My parents are artists. I still don't think that has anything to do with it. I myself have been a drawer from a young age, so I really love these illustrations. And you know, you can tell the love and the time that goes into someone's creative process in drawing these cards. And this one, I'm sorry, I keep looking at it. E-reader, people are a big fan of these e-reader cards. What the e-reader means is you could scan these into your Game Boy back in the day. It's pretty cool. You needed the e-reader attachment, so to speak. But yeah, the reverse on this actually looks phenomenal. The red reverse pops off like crazy. And then you can appreciate the artwork that's there. That's just that hand-drawn artwork. In my opinion, this is one of the better Charizards. I think that this is a phenomenal card. This one is a 7. But this is a phenomenal card. And really, when you get up close to it, look at that illustration. I think that's one of the better illustrations, and I really wish they would have made this card a holo. If they made this Expedition Charizard a normal holo, it would have been insane. It would have, right now, I'm sure that if this card was a holo, it would have been a $500 card easily. I think this card is just phenomenal. And then the back, it's pretty much what you get for a 7. It looks like it could have been an 8 or a 9, but whatever. Can always resubmit. Not going to, but we always could. We've got a base set 2 here, and this is the Cosmo Holo pattern. Honestly, I might like this card actually a little bit more than the base set original. Originals are great, but honestly, the Holo pattern, and of course it would be the same Holo pattern that mimics all of the international cards, all of the original Japanese cards. You can't beat the Cosmo Holo, and they knew that. They knew that, you know, and we had our own different English editions, you know, our version of the Holo, and that's great, but this Cosmo Holo is just insanity. It really is beautiful. Look at that. It's just diamonds dancing on this card. Absolutely phenomenal. So, and then it's got this triple orb right there. This is an absolutely sick card. Wow. And so this is a 7. Look how well centered this thing is. Okay, coming into the big boys. We're coming into the big boys now. Before I get into the big boy, I was gifted this by someone who sold something to me, and honestly, it's pretty cool. Mewtwo Strikes Back, The Fight Rages. This is a pretty cool Topps card. Honestly, of all the Topps cards, you've got 2 Charizards fighting. How often is that going to happen? Not often. Okay, moving forward, one of my nicest cards in here, it is the Crystal Charizard from Skyridge. But it's not what you think. It's a reverse. I know some people are going to rip on reverses, but I think that these reverses are phenomenal. I think they look great, and I think because they're e-reader cards and the reverse goes through the e-reader, it looks really, really classy. Let's go ahead and zoom in on this close up. This card is phenomenal. It really is. When you can get a high grade reverse of this card and then you get the original illustration and artwork, To me, you're really killing two birds with one stone. You're not only getting a better price because it's a less sought after, higher printed card, but, or at least I think it's higher print than the actual holo. Huh. I do know that this is actually a low population card. I know there are not a whole lot of these lying around. And this one is a 7, which is pretty dang good. This is a beautiful card. And of course, that artwork looks phenomenal. You've got Charizard. You know, at first, you know, I'm like, okay, he's in the mountains, that's cool, but he looks like a cartoon character. Like, this Charizard looks like he's out of some cartoon or something. So I'm not sure, you know, I was all about it, and I think that's why I went with a reverse. I saw how much the holos were going for, and I said, okay, I want a piece of this Charizard that's in this set. I just don't want to go crazy. And so I got this about a year or two ago for roughly $700, and I'm very, very happy with that purchase. I think that this card is phenomenal for $700 bucks. But at the same time, it is a lot of money, but it gives you this kind of rainbow holo pattern that you're just not going to get with the traditional holo. Not to mention, getting a 7 in this card would probably be a good, you know, $2,000 maybe, $3,000 maybe, in a 7 for the traditional holo. Which, come to think of it, I still really want the holo. But I remember there was a time where I didn't even care for this artwork, so it's kind of funny that now I'm praising this card when I wasn't even that big of a fan of the artwork originally. And to pay a tribute to the artist, so a lot of these, the base set Charizard artwork, that is Mitsuhiro Arita. If you don't know about Mitsuhiro Arita, you should definitely look into him. He is the iconic illustrator and artist for Pokemon. Of course, you have Satoshi Tajiri, which he is the founder of Pokemon. He's the one who came up with these ideas and went on adventures as a kid to experience what the game has blown up into now. So we owe a tribute to both Arita and Satoshi. Yeah, moving forward, we're going to get into our shadowless Charizards. So my first shadowless Charizard was about $350. And this is it right here. It's in a Beckett slab. It's actually a pretty good looking card, honestly, for being a newbie when I got this card and just picking it up based off of comps. I'm pretty happy I got this card. It popped up on the market and it was for a buy it now, and there wasn't an offer ability, but I just basically messaged the seller, as you should always message the sellers if you're trying to get a better deal. The worst they can say is no or not respond, which does happen a lot to me. But with this card, they responded promptly. It was a comic shop that someone had brought this into, and they wanted to get it sold. So I think instead of $400 or $425, I think I paid $350, which at that time I was happy because I was sure I was going to get a 5 or a 6, or at the very least a 4, which I knew could be a very real possibility given the back wear. And I'll show you guys that in a second. But this card's front was so good that they gave it a 5. The centering is fantastic too. In terms of the grades, the centering is a 9, corners 5, surface 5, edges 5.5. So all around, my other stats were not too great, but as you can see, we got a 9 on that centering, which is pretty great. Edges 5.5, surface 5, not terrible. Corners 5, all very so-so, and I'm happy with that because I still really love this card. And also, I'm honestly a way bigger fan of the Beckett slabs. Look at these. Look at the difference in the slab size. The Beckett slab is way thicker, which feels like it's higher quality. The CGC slabs are also thicker than the PSA slabs. I think PSA is super overrated, and I've been saying that, but I really do believe that. I think Beckett is the way to go, even though sometimes I think Beckett could be overpriced, and maybe if you're buying cards that are Beckett graded, I think because it's overpriced, sometimes Beckett actually leans towards giving you a better grade. Some people say they grade harsher. I don't believe that. I see PSA 5 Charizards going like that on the market. They go quick. People buy them relatively quick. but Beckett 5 or Beckett 4.5 Charizards. There's a Beckett 5 Charizard on the market right now. It's been on the market for 3 weeks straight. They have a reserve on the listing, and the reserve is 5K, which I don't even think is a crazy reserve, or buy it now. I think 5K is fine, or maybe the buy it now is 5K, but the reserve was maybe a little bit less than that. But I think honestly that was pretty fair game, and I offered them 3,800 when I saw the card, and they're like, "No, I'm not taking 3,800." But what's funny is the bids have yet to get to 3,800. People right now, from what I'm seeing, unfortunately, do not want to pay more than 3,800 for a graded 5 Beckett Charizard, which is a little bit alarming. If it were a 5, maybe it would go to 4,500, but still, it's a little bit alarming. I got mine for about 4 a piece, so I'm pretty happy with it. I feel like I got in a good middle ground, as I usually do. I also felt like with the economy and the market environment of Pokemon lately, especially vintage, stuff was falling quite a bit, and I feel like I got in at a good time to just say to myself, hey, this card is not going anywhere but up long term. This is a first edition Charizard, okay? So just be patient, and if you have to take a temporary L, we're going to take a temporary L. I don't see that happening right now. I still think $4,000 I could put these on the market and get more than that. Of course, you've got shipping. You have to insure that. It's a really expensive item, and then you've got fees. Not sure that I'm going to be getting rid of this card anytime soon, but yeah, I'm going to show you guys the back of the Beckett card. By no means am proud of the back of this card. I should have looked a little more in depth. It's hard to see because of the Beckett slabs. You can put a sleeve in the slab, and you can put the card that is sleeved, you can put in the slab. If you guys look really closely, you can see that there's actually a sleeve inside of the slab. Beckett is the only company that allows you to put your cards in with the sleeve, and I think that that's phenomenal. I think that's great. But like I said, the reason and you've got edge wear here, the edges really weren't good. But the reason I just don't think that Beckett is the best quality card for the grade is because, again, those cards are sleeved. So it really looks slightly deceiving on these Beckett ones. That's why I think even on the auction that's on eBay right now, no one's willing to go over 3,500 because they're like, this looks like it could potentially be closer to a 4. So the same with my 5. This is how I know this, because my 5 shouldn't honestly be a 5. It should be like a 4.5 or maybe even a 4. Maybe 4 is a little harsh, but 4.5 at least. And I think just because it doesn't have any creases, but yeah, 4s tend to have some creases usually. What's next? Okay, so before we get to the first edition Charizards, which if you've been waiting, great, thank you. For those of you that have been here from the ground up, a lot of you have already seen this first edition Charizard because it made its debut several weeks back. But I think before we go there, these are the Legendary Collection Lava theme decks. I have another one up there that I'm a couple cards short of completing it, but it's not something that I feel pressed to do. I have the box, and those boxes in good condition are really hard to find. And then just finding them sealed is just near impossible, and people want an astronomical amount of money. I'm willing to pay $1,500 for this theme deck sealed. I'm willing to pay $1,500. If someone has one out there, or finds an eBay listing, maybe just let me know. Everybody that's in our Discord, definitely let me know. But yeah, these are phenomenal, and here's why. This reverse pattern on the theme deck itself is really incredible. I mean, it just pops off. It's all over the place. It's in your face. It's all over the place. Really beautiful. It's on the side too. It's on the back. You've got it everywhere, just like the reverse hollows, which that's another card. If you're going to if you want to complete your Charizards, you need this reverse Charizard from Legendary Collection. This theme deck comes with the non-hollow version, which both of these are complete. Both these theme decks are complete. I do need the I need a couple energies for that theme deck, but yeah, these are almost complete, and both of them have very minty, non-hollow Charizard Legendary Collections, which I think that's a little bit of a bargain too. That's the only Charizard you can get that is a non-hollow, that is Legendary Collection, that is basically a base set reprint, but it's a non-hollow. It's really something special when you think about it. But I guess because it's non-hollow, it just hasn't had the same hype around it. I think it's a beautiful card, and honestly, again, if you have the card and it's not a hollow, you can appreciate the illustration on a different level. Okay, moving forward, now we have our big kahunas. Let's start with the thin stamp. I don't even know if I'm going to take it off there. Just leave it on here. So here we have the thin stamp. By thin stamp, if I zoom in on that there, you guys should be able to see that pretty easily. So you'll notice that the 1 on the first edition stamp is very thin, very faint. Like you can almost barely even see that. This is what's called a thin stamp, even though I feel like a lot of people, myself included, really think that it should be called the thick stamp, despite now that I'm being used to the other one being called the thick stamp. I think that makes more sense for this to be the thick stamp because it has more ink. And in some ways, people might like it better for that reason. Maybe not more ink, maybe that's not totally factual. Maybe it was just slightly just a variation, but I tend to think it has something to do with the fact that the presses for these stamps in the Wizards of the Coast printing factories were a little bit thicker. So let's take this card out of here. We inspected this card for hours, for days. This card has a phenomenal holo. Honestly, other than a little bit of dirt on it and some wear on the back side, I don't even have to take the sleeve off. You guys should be able to see the edge wear on the bottom of this. I'm sorry about our dogs. My wife runs a rescue and fosters and rescues a lot of puppies and pit bulls and all kinds of dogs. You guys can see the serious edge wear over here. But I really liked this 5 because it just had a great surface, and that holo sheen is absolutely incredible. Really a nice card. It's, man, the holo on this is everything. This card is gorgeous just because of that holo. Really a nice card. And for the most part, pretty well centered too, if I don't say so. So that is the first edition. That is a thin stamp. And then last but not least, actually, no, there is a... I'm forgetting something. I know that I'm forgetting something. Hold on. I totally forgot. Before I go into the first edition, the gold card. The gold card from the Celebrations UPC. This card is phenomenal. No one is grading these gold cards. I think PSA did a few, Beckett did a few before they stopped, so those cards are really, really valuable in higher grades. But I'm hoping at some point they will be grading metal cards again. I don't see why it would be an issue if this card is sent in a sleeve. I don't know why Beckett can't do it. But this one is phenomenal. There's really no chipping on this card whatsoever. Try and show you guys. At least I don't see any kind of chipping on this card whatsoever. And that was the issue. There's kind of a quality control issue with these where, because it was a metal card, made it harder to grade, made it harder to determine if it was a factory wear item or if someone had actually damaged it or rubbed off the paint. It's really well centered. I just really, really like this is honestly, this card right here is honestly one of my favorites. Like, of all of my Charizards, this has got to be one of my favorites just because I was around to get the product and have it, and it's just an amazing the UPC was great to see this card again. Not to mention this card kind of has those reverse hollow vibes that Legendary Collection had, because the whole card is gold, but then you can appreciate the Charizard illustration and artwork. What's more is that the back, the Pokemon print, and maybe the Pokeball too, no, just the Pokemon print itself is hollow. So if you'll notice, the Pokemon print on the back of this card shines and glimmers under the light. So that's pretty cool. It's like a hollow back. And honestly, I don't think there are any cards like that. I'm not sure. So that was that. Now, the holy grail of my collection, for now, is this Charizard first edition. This thing is absolutely epic. This thing is absolutely epic. Trying to show you guys some angles, but the hollow is in really good condition. Really a nice card. Barely any wear that I can tell as far as the surface goes. The centering on this card, phenomenal. The thick stamp, phenomenal. The back, centering is good again. And honestly, this one was definitely the nicer 5. I felt this one could have been closer to a 6. It did not have nearly the kind of edge wear that the other one had. You can see that very clearly. This card is very clean. I don't know why this card got a 5. I don't know why it got a 5. And even the top, there's a little tear in the plastic, so don't mind that. But even the top here, there's barely any edge wear there. There's barely any edge wear there. So why on earth, I mean, other than this little clip right there, why on earth did this card get a 5? I don't know, maybe I'm seeing things, but I mean, there's some edge wear on that side, but this side and this side are pretty much good. So that's half the back of the card that's perfect. The front is damn near perfect. I just don't get it. But I'm thankful for it, because I feel like I got a 7 for the price of a 5, or honestly the price of a 4. I feel like this is a $7,000 card as I'm looking at it, and I paid 4 for it. So I feel like I did really good on this card overall. This is definitely my most prized possession as far as all my collection stuff goes. I wanted this card for so long. There was, and a little story before I end, even though it's already a 50-minute video, but a little story. I wanted this card so badly. I was constantly trying to bid on this card and just could not win to save my life. There was always somebody who sniped me. I don't know why the last auctions for these, I was able to get them. I think no one was paying attention. The market was focused on Crown Zenith, and that was kind of part of my plan. I wanted to buy into this card when a new really good set came out, so that people would be maybe hopefully more focused on stocking up and investing in a new set as opposed to buying an old overpriced card. But to me, this card is priceless, and I really wanted one. I started building a first edition base set master set about a year and a half ago, and I finally finished it about a month or two ago when we ordered in this card. But I remember I would lose bids over and over again, and one night I bid up to 4,800 on a raw Charizard, and it looked great. Was it worth 4,800? Thinking back, I doubt it. But I really wanted that card, and I was willing to pay a premium for it. I didn't care. I wanted to grade it myself. I was super excited. When I lost that listing, when I lost the bid, I immediately reached out to the seller. I told him, hey, I really wanted this listing. If the person backs out, please let me know. I really want to buy this card. And the person paid for the listing, and it was what it was. So they ended up getting the card. So after that, I was pretty depressed about it, that I just said, screw it. I got off eBay. I deleted all my listings. I told sellers that I couldn't buy things. I think I won 2 items and backed out of it, which is really, I hate that. I don't like being that guy. If someone cancels an order on Mercari, to me, I get livid. I lose my mind. I get super pissed off, because I'm like, yo, I went through all this work to send this to you, and but with me, the sellers hadn't packaged anything. I just told them, I know I won this item, but I can't right now. I was so hurt and depressed about not getting this card that I just was like, I need to take a break from Pokemon. And that was one of the best things for me because I ended up coming up with some of my best content ever. And part of that was just the clarity of not having the weight of buying all that stuff. And I think I'm going through that again right now. I lost some listings that were really important to me and would have been really great value, really good returns in terms of selling that stuff on my store and like collections of stuff. And I just decided, dude, if you want this stuff so badly, then stop bidding on everything else and save up for these big ticket items. So what I mean to say, guys, is if you see something that you really like, just be patient. Be patient because eventually it's going to pop up for a price that you really, really like, that you don't want to let it go, and you're going to have the money available, and you're going to be able to buy that card outright without having any debt, without using a credit card, none of that. That's something I've learned about Pokemon is that honestly, it's easy to burn out, but that's also at the discretion of the collector, right? Like, know your limits, know your financial limits, know what you can and can't do. I know it's easier said than done. I'm a hypocrite for saying that because look at this room, look at these cards. Like, I'm definitely one to give advice and not take it myself. But it's always a process, you know? And I think everybody who's in the collecting world knows that there are times where we went too far and we need to scale it back. And it's just learning that balance and learning that, like, this stuff is not going anywhere. It's going to be here. And yes, it does feel amazing to have a card like this in my collection. It feels amazing to have this card. And to be like, I have a first edition Charizard. Let's go. But at the same time, this card was bound to pop up at some point, like, regardless. So at the end of the day, don't sacrifice quality of life. Don't sacrifice, your well-being. Anyways, I'm probably going to do another video on this because I'm feeling it in my gut. I'm feeling it in my heart that it's coming for a video that's like kind of, let's talk about the reality that we're all spending too much money, that this generation is just, we're all trying to find stuff to invest in, and Pokemon just became a big target for that because the market recently just hasn't been doing that great. And so I think that's a big reason that people would definitely be coming into collectibles. Maybe not Pokemon per se, but I think collectibles in general have grown a lot in the past couple years. And it just seems like it's maybe more of the reliable assets to choose, which is weird because it's cardboard. But sometimes it seems like I made a better decision buying all this stuff and starting a store, and selling stuff online. I think sometimes that was a better decision than continuously putting my money in the market because, and maybe I'll be wrong. I hope I am because I still have money in the market and it's kind of locked up. But, Pokemon has not let me down yet. All my value is here. I'm pretty happy about that. But anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed the video of the Charizards and the Charizard Collection. I hope you guys got to see these cards up close well enough. We'll do one more up close of the first edition just because it's a cool card to see. You don't see people talking about this card all that much. It's not the rarest card in the world, but it is a very iconic card. It's a card that a lot of people want to get their hands on at some point. Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Great card to have in your personal collection. It's a a lot of money to have tied up. I will say that. It's, especially when I'm trying to start an online selling business, the amount of product I could have bought to flip with $4,000 as opposed to buying a card like this. Not my best choice, but I can now cross this card off my list. But anyways, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you for your support. And I'm going to go take my family to the park. Peace out. It's a beautiful day, y'all.